What is up, and welcome back to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. I am super excited today because this is the first time since I started covering sports that I've had the opportunity to cover the Olympics. I love the Olympics, particularly track and field. I want to talk about it, and who better to talk about track and field with than my old coach, a man who has coached champions at every level, including Olympic silver medalist Raven Saunders from the Herbert Johnson Track and Field Academy. Coach Herbert Johnson. Coach, thank you for coming on again. It's been too long.
Man, thank you for having me. Tell Kobe I still have a beef with him, picking the wrong teams during football season, but I'll let that slide for now. Great being here. I'm glad you have me. I'm happy to be on this again.
No,
yes.
I will pass the message on. So today, since you are someone who has forgotten more track and field knowledge than most people ever learn, I'm going to try to stump the coach. I'm going to ask you questions related to Olympic events. I'm going to see if you can or cannot give me an answer. We're going to go event by event.
Okay.
Are you prepared?
I am prepared. And as you know, I'm full of opinions. So
I have learned that in my nearly 2 decades.
But yes.
In my nearly 2 decades of dealing with you, I have learned that you are certainly full of opinions.
Yes.
Some people say you're full of other things as well.
That's what they might say. But normally, I'm correct or close to it.
All right. Good. Well, let's get started. We're going to start with the women's 100-meter dash.
Ooh.
I need to know, this is essentially the U.S. versus Jamaica. I need to know who's going to come out on top. Elaine Thompson-Herah for Jamaica, the Olympic record holder who won gold last go-round. She is out with injury for the U.S. We have Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yes.
Got T.T. Terry. We've got Melissa Jefferson from right up the street in Georgetown. And for Jamaica, we've got Shericka Jackson. We've got, once again, somehow, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. These are the top 5 from everything I've read. How's it looking for U.S. against Jamaica in the women's 100-meter dash?
This is going to be Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is probably there as the sentimental favorite with not having a real chance of winning the gold medal. She is on the opposite side of her greatness, but being a champion, as you can see over the last few races she's had, her start, which was her trademark, and the ability to close is gone. So she's going to probably be there. She's one of my favorites. Yes, Shelly-Ann. I'm still waiting, but she's probably not going to be in the hunt. I wouldn't say that she wouldn't make the finals, but if she didn't, it would not be surprising. You're talking about at least 3 rounds. I don't know if she's going to be able to do that. And even if she did, the changing of the guard in that has taken place. Shericka Jackson, Black Hat, those Jamaicans, they're evil. And they're evil for a reason, because they have been giving America trouble in sprints forever. And the Americans in this race really have Sha'Carri Richardson as being their only real hope. She kind of surprised them at the World Championships, where she got them right at the end. Now they know that she can close like that. Shericka Jackson, if you were betting on it, Shericka Jackson having come all the way down from the 4 and then made her mark in the 2 and then came back into the 1 and did damage there. Oh boy, that's going to be one, because Sha'Carri Richardson is actually a true 100-meter sprinter with all the phases, and she's understands now how to run in major competition. That was another thing. While she was being berserk acting, she wasted time not learning how to run against competition, especially in rounds. So she's figured it out now. And that's going to be tough on everyone. But it's the Olympics, and it's her first Olympics. And that puts a big difference into everything. You can overrun it in the earlier trials. You can try not to overrun in the early trials and end up in a bad position where you might not even make the finals, because there's always a person there we never heard of before that's going to creep into one of these sprint events. Shericka Jackson, with all that strength she has, I think if you were going to put your house on it, and her experience and her, because the Jamaicans, even though they have a qualifying procedure, they can still pick who they want to come. Americans, they don't pick, because when you top 3 and you have the Olympic standard, or if you don't have the standard, you're in the top 30, I think 30 or 32, they can still bring you in, changes from Olympic to Olympic, of this, even world championships. So I think if I was going to put on it, I would say Jackson is the favorite. Experience, have been there, is now coming into running better at the end of the year. She didn't run up a whole lot at the beginning. Now she's starting to come. And the Americans have shown her that they can run. The young lady from Georgetown, I don't think that she's ready yet. Jefferson.
Yeah.
If it was a one-race race, then she has as good a chance as anyone coming through rounds. Again, first Olympics, I don't think she has it yet that'll be able to do it. I would say it's Jackson, then Sha'Carri Richardson, and then the field. Hoping Shelly-Ann can pull a miracle out. But I wouldn't be surprised if the young lady from Georgetown, Jefferson, would pull off a third. I expect her to get to the finals. T.T. Terry, I'm always amazed when T.T. Terry made the team. How did that happen? But if you look back to her history, yes, how does that happen? And she's going to be on the relay team. And if you talk about the relays, if that's going to be a thing we're going to talk about, but the relay team that the Americans are putting together, both men and women, if they put them in the right spots and the sponsors and agents don't get in and say you have to run the anchor because it's the glory spot, and they put them where they're supposed to be, like on the back straightaway or in the third curve, where you can actually use that speed for a long period of time, because there is no 100 meters in the 4x100 meter relay. First, there's just not. So then the Americans could smash some records, male and female, with the group that they have putting together. But that's another story. So Jackson, Richardson,
and then the field. Okay,
and the young lady from Allred, I forgot her country, Julian Allred, maybe for bronze.
Okay, so Richardson and Jackson each have a PR of 10:65. Jackson, like you said, won the Worlds last year in the 100. Richardson won it in the 100 last year. Jackson won it in the 200. Watching the trials, I know a lot of the talk was about Sha'Carri Richardson's start and how it didn't appear to be ideal. How much does that matter? What did it look like to you as the expert? And how much does it matter in her race? Because, I mean, the finish looked real good.
In Oregon, okay, this is an old hat. But at the trials, she didn't need to start to beat them. So I think she was making sure, this is my opinion, I just have to get to the next round. I don't even have to be in the top 2 in this round, even though you have to be in the top 2, or when they were doing 4 and then cutting it down and cutting. I'm going to make it if I don't do anything stupid, like jump out of the starting block being too excited. And I believe she knew she was really excited. She's going back on her. This isn't her Scorchers tour. She already had that. This is her. I'm going to get what I feel like I'm supposed to have, an Olympic gold medal. I'm good enough if I was on my peak to do it. And if I'm on my game, I'm going to beat everybody here. Even though I picked Jackson, if she's on her peak, she's going to get everybody if the pressure doesn't get to her. And I know people might think, well, it was the world The World Championships is like winning the NFC conference. This is the Olympics is the Super Bowl. And all of that stuff where you hear athletes talk about in the Super Bowl or in an NBA championship where they have to play a few minutes and then they ain't no calm down in the Olympic finals. It's 10 seconds. If you didn't get calm before you get out of the back, you're not going to play yourself into your game. You either are on your game or you are done. Because anything, just realizing that I didn't come out with as much intent too late, boom, you can't call, I don't feel good in the blocks. If you didn't hold your hand up and you can't be thinking about anything except when I hit a gun, this is what I'm going to do. I think she didn't want a false start. My own opinion, just looking at it, because she did it the entire trials period. And she was a little bit better in the finals because she wanted to make sure she won the race so she could be the U.S. champion. And she didn't want to give anybody else any bragging rights and make them have hope. And she wanted the rest of the world to know that I don't have any chinks in my armor. So I think she was just saying, I'm going to make sure I hear the gun, which you would think all athletes are doing. But it's a different way of hearing the gun. If you think about it, when I would teach it, I'd teach it as big letters that say POW. All right. Some athletes wait until they hear pow. But world-class athletes in a setting like that, they're gone on the first part of the P the line of the P, they're gone. So that's how hyped up they are, because you don't have the middle of the P, the end of the P, the beginning of the O. You don't have any of that with these people, not even at the U.S. trials. So you have to kind of say, I'm going to set there at least till the middle of the PA, and then I'm going. I'm not going exactly when I hear anything of the gun. We used to tell them to listen for the click of the gun before the hammer even hits. When you hear anything mechanical, the guy is squeezing the trigger, because that's the only thing it could be, is the trigger is being squeezed. And then you go by the time the hammer hits, because it's normally, they would say 0.24 seconds before you can react. That's why now they got it at 0.1, saying anyone reacts or takes the pressure off of the block in 0.1 second, you have to have jumped the gun, because no one can do that. We don't know if anyone can do that or not. They haven't tried me. I might can do it. But that's the rule. So I think she didn't want to get a false start. And that was the way to make sure that even at my worst, I'm going to make the team, even if I don't become the U.S. record holder, because they're taking 3, and there are not 3 people in this whole field that can beat me on a bad day. Not 3 people at the same time. So I just want to go to the Olympics.
And we're going to get into some of this more with the men, but I do want to know, we've got Sha'Carri did not qualify in the 200, but a great 100 runner, obviously. But then you got Jackson, who is an elite 200 runner. How does that affect their running styles in the 100, how they run the 200, or does it not at all? Jackson
is used to running, was a quarter mile, and a world-class quarter mile. And that obviously gives you a chance to be a world-class 200-meter athlete. People forget, and I know we jump it a little, Fred Curley was a 400-meter athlete that dropped down to the 100. He kind of skipped the 200, but he ran that also and went down to the 4. And there is at this point, no 200-meter athlete in the world that are on the world stage running that can't run a quarter. They probably can run the first 300 of any quarter as good as anybody in the world, but they haven't trained themselves to run that last 100 meters because they don't need it. We just need to get 300 meters out of this, 300 meters worth of 400-meter training. I should be all right in the 200, unless my leg fell off while I was running around the track. So for the women, Richardson is looking at this because Richardson is going to be doing the 200 trials. I believe she's going to be doing the 2 and the 1. Sha'Carri, now knowing she's out of the 2, is only going to be doing the 1.
That's right. So Jackson's got the 2 events to Sha'Carri's 1.
That's right. But they each are actually running the clock. it's going to be, what time do you think is going to win the women's race? It ain't going to be 10-8, and it probably ain't going to be 10-7. So you're looking at, it's the only thing that's running through Jackson's mind is, can I run 10-6 and some change? 10-6-5, 10-6-7, 10-6-8, 10-6-9. That's what she's probably thinking. And Sha'Carri's thinking the same thing. Well, I know if I'm free, I should be able to run 10-6, because these 10-7s in the finals, that ain't going to get it. So they're looking at time. Jackson knows that if she wants to be a gold medalist, Gabby Thomas don't care about none of the other things you all running, because I'm only running the 2. So she's got to go through the trials of the 200. I believe she did make that. And then the trials of the 100. Gabby Thomas only has to go to the trials of the 200. And I think it's 3 times. It might be 4, a opening, then a preliminary, then a semifinals, then the final. So it might be 4. Richardson only has to go through the hundreds. So it's almost like the 2 Americans against her, because the Jamaicans at the moment don't have that gunpowder that they had before, where now Shelly-Ann is going to dang rough y'all up in some, and then I'm going to rough you up in some, and then we're going on the relay and we're going to rough you up some more, and we're just going to keep, and that's how it has been with the Americans and them for a while. Who's on their year? Right now, I think it's the Americans' year, but not through the 100. But that's how I would approach it if I was a coach. I have an advantage. Richardson has an advantage. Allred probably has an advantage if she's just going to do the 1, because they don't have to do the 2. Any flight, I'm not going to leave. I think, is Aaliyah Hobbs, did she make the team and she got knocked out? Is not going to, I think Hobbs might have got knocked out for the young girl that was in the quarter.
Okay, for the 200 for America you're talking about?
No, the 100 for America. No,
100.
She didn't. That's right. Hobbs didn't make the 100.
Yep.
So because it's only TT and Jefferson, so Hobbs is probably going to run it in the relay pool. So I don't see the Americans changing their focus as far as TT, Jefferson. It was a good thing that Sha'Carri got knocked out of the 2. It wasn't going to make any difference anyway if she went in the 2, because she wasn't going to beat anybody there in the Olympics in the 2. Running those rounds and then trying to run that wasn't going to happen. She is not a giant. Not that you have to be a giant, but she is not a big woman, and she runs with so much power. I bet she eats up a lot of energy. If you could take a little thing and put on her and say, how much energy is she using, and then put it on other people who run in the same race, because of how she runs everything up. But when she gets going, arms up, no big shaking with the head, and stroke. And boom, when she hits the track and explode off, I bet she uses up a lot of energy, and that takes a lot of recovery. So I think that's where we're at with that. I hope I answered the question.
You did. I think you did.
Okay.
We didn't stump you. And you did give opinions too, and you only promised opinions. You didn't even promise correct answers, just opinions.
No, just opinions, even though they are correct.
Perfect. Well, Coach, if someone wants to keep up with what you're doing, maybe they got a child that wants to be coached, or they want to be coached themselves, where can they find you?
You can get me at Herbert Johnson Track and Field Academy on Facebook, and just leave a message in, or you can IM me. I just found out what that meant. The IM thing. You can instant message me. It'd probably be the fastest way. Herbert Johnson Track and Field Academy. You can go on the Facebook page. I would tell you to use the email address, but I only look at that probably about once every 2 months. We don't do a lot of training. No. We don't do a lot of training anymore for like a daily thing like you and I would do every day. So, and we don't take a lot of athletes. I'm thinking how I want to progress in this. Do I want to go back to the younger athletes and then move them on? Because by the time a lot of them get to high school, they've picked up such bad training habits that But you also don't want the younger athletes to be treated like they are running the Olympic Games, where they have so many practices and the practice is so long that you're going to burn them out. You start them so young that by the time they get to high school, they're never going to want to run track and field again. You killed them. There is no real advantage outside of the technique understanding to try to get them physically fit until they hit puberty, which comes younger, I think a little bit younger now than when I was boy and girls. But until they hit puberty, we don't know what they're going to be. Fat kids become skinny kids, slow kids become fast kids. You just don't know until they hit puberty. So trying to turn them into an Olympic athlete before puberty, I would say teach them every technique, make it fun after an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But for the younger ones that under middle school, an hour, send them home. 2 days a week. The middle schoolers, maybe 3 days a week if you're going to have a sustained program, nothing more than 6 weeks at a time, and then break for 2 weeks and then let them come back out. And if they are in the field screaming and hollering, Mackenzie and Samantha, and trying to throw shot putts on you, then, you just have to watch yourself because take a break every 20 minutes and don't make it at that age. So many parents, and it's the parents, I'm going to tell you parents, it's you. Because the kids go out there and run, and if I had them out there by themselves and just told them to run, and you didn't tell them before, if Johnny beats you again, you're not going to Taco Bell, they would just be out there running, and they wouldn't care. If I told each one of them, and they just lost, you won, he lost. It was all of you did great, and they didn't have to hear you talk about how they lost to the guy down the street. They would have a great time. Let them be children for a little bit before they become the greatest athletes in the world. Take it from a person who's been lucky enough to coach athletes since 1976 on every level and have seen what it takes to coach athletes on high level and smaller. Let them be children for as long as possible because they're going to be adults all of the rest. And we don't take nobody prisoner as adults. We kill all.
Well, that's kind of terrifying, but I'm going to put your information in the show notes anyways.
That's terrifying. They're going to hit you an adult.
And
these people ain't taking no prisoners.
Well, as always, it was fantastic having you on. I'm going to try to bother you to get you back on during the Olympics when you're not busy coaching.
Thank you, Brandon. This has been fantastic. I'm happy to be here, man. We got to go over and eat some more.
Yes,
but it's been fun. Tell Aaron I said, hey, tell Mom hi and all, and tell everybody, still love them. And you keep doing what you're doing. I already told you. I'm waiting to turn on ESPN.
Definitely. So this has been, before we get to ESPN and the 2028 Olympics, this has been another episode of Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. Thank you for watching, listening, rating, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing. And I will catch y'all later.